Hello guys, welcome to this video. And in today's video, we will be exploring Photoshop's interface and how to set and customize the interface as well. Then at the end of the video, we are going to redesign the 30 days of Photoshop flyer. Okay, so let's get started. When you open up Photoshop, you should have an interface that looks similar to what I have on screen here. You have this welcome section here, which has this button that will take you to a section where you can see Photoshop tutorials. Then you also have the section down here which shows you recent designs you have worked on. Okay, and you also have this side, these items here on the left hand side, and the ones I really want us to pay attention to is the create new and open. So before we get to these details here, at the top hand side here you have these menu items here: file, edit, image, layer, type, select, filter, written, view, plugin, window, and help. So those are our menu items in Photoshop. Okay, below that we have the Photoshop icon. So let's click on that. When you click on that, you are brought to Photoshop's workspace. This is what we call the Photoshop workspace. Okay, and you can see our tools on the left hand side here. We can also see our menu items on the right at the top here. Then below the menu items here, we have the tools items down here. Okay, then at the right hand side we have our panels, right? So I'm still going to get to all of these. So basically this is our Photoshop workspace environment. So if I come back to the top left hand side here, I'm going to see a home button here, this home button. So if I click on this home button here, it takes me back to Photoshop's home screen. Okay, if I click on the Photoshop icon, it takes me to the workspace. If I click on the Photoshop home button, it takes me to Photoshop's home screen. Now, what's the first thing you want to do when you open up Photoshop? Of course, you want to design, and we need to create a new Photoshop document in order to be able to design. Okay, and how do you create a new Photoshop document? So there are two ways to get that done. You can click on create new, this create new button here, and when you click on that, you should have a window which pops up like so. Okay, and this window is this is the window you use to create a new Photoshop document. Now this window has two sections. We have the left hand side and the right hand side. So let's focus on the right hand side for now. This right hand side basically provides us with fields where we can input our values. Like this first field, we can input the name of our document. This other field here, input the width, the height, and we can also change our unit of measurement here. Okay, pixels, inches, centimeters, millimeters, points, and picas, right? Then we can input our resolution, our color mode, and some other things here. Okay, so we're going to get back to this in a bit. Then this left hand side provides us with some custom presets, that some dimensions or some paper sizes that are commonly used in the industry. Okay, so let's look at these tabs we have here. So let's look at the first one. We have the recent tab, which basically shows me the paper sizes I've been using of recent. So for those of you who have never used Photoshop before, you should see nothing here. Okay, let's go to photo. So it shows you default photo sizes. Okay, and when you click on any one just once, the values are being loaded up on the right hand side, which we have 4 and 6 inch here. So if I select another one, it changes. So Photoshop loads up the dimensions of this particular size into the details here. Okay, so if I come back here and go to print, you can see standard print paper sizes like A4, A3, A5, and A6. Okay, so if I click on A4, it loads up the A4 paper size for me here. All right, so let's say we want to go with A4. So it loads this up for me here. I can come here and change the name, this field up here, and just change the name. So I can say my document, for example, like that. And all I need to do is just come down here and click on create, like so. Create, and it creates a new A4 document like this for me, right? So it has brought us back to our Photoshop workspace, and we now have this whiteboard here. So this whiteboard is what we call a Canva, okay? These are Canva, and this will get to work on. All right, then at the top here, notice you see the name of the document here. Then you see this X icon here, which basically is to close up stuff. So we can close up this particular tab we have created, this document we have created. So if I click on it, it closes up and we have lost that, right? So that's how you close up a tab. So let's create a document again. So before, I showed you guys that you can create a document by clicking on the create icon here, right? Or you can go to file up here and click on new, and you have that same interface here. Okay, so we are not going to use a preset here. We can just come to the right hand side here and input our own values here. So the first thing is, let's change the name of this file here from untitled, and let's give it a name. Let's say day 1. Then let's change the unit of measurements from inches to pixels, like so. Then the value of the width, let's give it a width of 2000. The value of the height, let's give it a height of 2000 as well, so that it's a square, okay? Then the resolution, we are going to change the resolution to 72, and we are going to look at the details of these later on, why 72, why 300 and stuff like that. And the color mode should be RGB, like so, and we should leave everything as it is. So we have changed the name here of our document, the height and width, the unit of measurement, and that's good. The resolution 72. Then click on create. So we have clicked on create, and we have our Canva, which has been brought up, and you can see this is square, okay? Now let's explore Photoshop's workspace together. If you just installed Photoshop, you should have something looking like this. So for those of you who have been using Photoshop for some time, you might have customized your interface to look a little bit different. So what we can do is we can go to window here, click on window here, click on workspace, then make sure we have essential default selected, okay? So click on that, then still go back to window, go to workspace, then go down to reset essentials, okay? Click on that, and you should have something looking like this. If you still don't have something looking like this, that's no problem. Just simply means you have a different version of Photoshop, okay? Because for me here, my version of Photoshop is Photoshop. Let's just check and see. I'm using Photoshop 2022, okay? Right. All right. Now, let's explore Photoshop's workspace. So as I earlier been mentioned, we have the Photoshop's menu items up here. We have file, we have edit, we have image, and each of these options have these menu options here, or these menu items have options within. Okay, so this file menu item here has these options within, right? Then on the left hand side of our screen, we have our tools bar. So these are the tools in Photoshop, and when you point or hover on a particular tool, Photoshop shows you what the tool does. It gives you the name of the tool. It also gives you the keyboard shortcut. When you press that keyboard shortcut, it gets the tool selected for you, and it also gives you a quick description of that tool. So this first tool here is our move tool, and it's usually the default tool. When you open up Photoshop, that's the first tool that's always active. So now this move tool is selected here, right? We have these options here for this move tool. So again, this top one here, these are menu items here, right? Then below our menu items, we have our tools options. So when you select any tool here, these options here will change based on the tool we have selected. So let me show you that. So if we select the next tool, the rectangular marquee tool, right? Click on that. notice that these tools options here have changed because we are on a different tool. If I select the next one, which is our lasso tool, click on it, we see our tools options have changed. So if I select a different tool, notice as the options keep on changing based on the tool we have selected. Okay, I'm sure that makes sense to everybody, right? Beautiful. Now let's go back to our move tool. So let's click on that, and our move tool is now selected. As I made mention earlier on, this white board here is called our Canva, right? Now on the right hand side, we have what we call panels. Like here you see we have color, we have swatches, we have gradients, we have patterns, we have properties, we have adjustments, and so on. We have a lot of these things happening here, right? And all of these panels come from our Windows menu item. So if I click on this drop down, you're going to notice that some of these items on this list here are active. Like here we have adjustment here, which is checked, and if you come here you see adjustments opened up here. We have layers. If you come here you see layers opened up here, right? So all of these things here are all of the items on this window menu here are basically what we see on this other side. Okay, so if I come here, I can move things around, I can close some things and place things where I want to place them. Now do not get confused, okay? I just want to show you how you can customize your interface to whatever interface you want. Okay, so let's quickly look at this. So you have color here, right? If you click on color and hold, then drag outside, you can break it up like this. So if I come to this next one, swatches, if I click and hold and drag, so you can just do stuff like this to customize your interface. Okay, I can do the same for properties and stuff like this. Now my screen is pretty getting messy. Now if I don't want these panels, I can click on this X here to close them up like that. Close, 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 like this. So what did I do again? Point on the name, click and drag outside. And I'm sure you know you have to click, hold and drag like that, right? Then you can close it up. So I'm now left with layers, channels and paths, like so. Then I also have these other ones here, right? So when you click on this one, it opens up it like that. When you click back on it, it closes it up. And notice that we have this expand panel here, this little icon here, which points to the left. So if you click on it, it expands this panel. If I click on it, it closes it up. It kind of minimizes it to have this little column here. Okay, same thing here. If I click on this collapse icon here, it collapses this panel. If I click on this one, it expands the panel, right? I'm sure you guys saw the same icon here on our tools bar here. This little icon which points to the right, click on it, it makes our tools bar a 2-column toolbar. If I click on it, it drops that. Okay, now somebody will be asking, we have messed up our interface, how do you reset it? Very simple. Go back to Windows, go to Workspace and click on Reset Essentials, and we now have something looking like this. I'm sure this makes sense to everybody, right? Great. Let's now look at how to customize our Photoshop's display, right? How Photoshop looks like. So let's look at how to customize Photoshop's the color of Photoshop's interface. Okay, so as at now I have a dark shade, kind of grayish interface. So let's go to File, let's go to Edit, then we go down to Preferences. Okay, then click on General. So we have an interface that looks like this. And if you go down to interface, you now see we have some color themes here, and we select anyone, it changes the color theme of Photoshop like that. Okay, so this is how you change the color theme of Photoshop. I always prefer using the darker one, right? And if there was anyone darker than this one, I'd have likely taken that one as well. Okay, so this is the one I'm working with. Okay, I'll just click on OK like that. All right, so far so good. Okay, now let's So we have seen the Photoshop menu items, the tools bar. We also looked at the tools options here, which change based on the tool we have selected. We have seen our panels on this side and how to customize the panels, how to move them around, right? And whenever you mess things up here, you can always come to Windows, Workspace, and reset. It's going to reset it so you have something like this. So at this moment, the most important panels we need to have open should be properties, right? Layers, channels, and paths. Then this one here as well, history. Okay, so the most important ones we need to have at the moment, right? So I want to close up the other ones. So I want to close up color, swatches, gradient, and paths, all of these things. So I'll just drag them outside, click on close, drag outside, click on close, and I'm going to do same for all of the other ones, just so that we are left with what? With properties, layers, channels, and paths. So I'll click on this, drag outside, close, click on this, drag outside, and close like this. Then one thing I always like to is I'll take properties outside. So here we now have what? Just layouts, channels, and paths, okay? Then we have our properties here. Now, I want to bring properties and add properties to this small column here. This column here, we have history here, right? Then we have this comments here, which I don't really need, so I'll drag outside and close it up. I want to add properties to this history here. So I'll click on this, drag, and I'll just point. I'll point here till I see this little blue highlights there. Not this one, not this one, but this one. When I see that, I will now drop it like that. Makes sense? So again, how did I get that stuff? So now I've accidentally closed up my properties panel. Is how do I bring them up? Simple. Go to Windows and look for properties. So this sit down here, properties. When you click on it, it comes back like so, right? So whenever you accidentally close anything here, just go to Windows and look for it. It's going to come back, okay? So what I want to do is I want to click on the name properties here, click and drag and point here, then allow like that, okay? All right, makes sense. So let's now create a very simple design. We will be creating the flyer we had for this training, okay? The text this flyer. So let me quickly show you guys the flyer. Yes, so let's try and recreate this flyer. So let's see the elements we have here. So the first thing is we have these tools here, right? Next thing we have this laptop. Then we have text all over the place. We have this shape here in red. Then we have these icons down here, okay? So back to Photoshop. So in the description of this video, I have shared a link to all of the resources we are going to be using for this design. So we have a laptop, the picture, I've sent the image, the picture file, we have the icons, Photoshop icon, the social media icons, and the tools as well, right? Then the fonts we are going to use is going to be in this folder, fonts used. So when you open up that folder, you'll see the name of the fonts, Clash Display. Open it up and you have this. So you will have to install these fonts. And how to install these fonts, but this typeface, very simple. Just right click on the first one, click install, and we'll do the same for all the other ones. Install, right click, install. Or a simple way to get this done, just select everything, Ctrl A, or you just drag over all like that. Then right click on one and take install like this, and you're going to install. So for me, I'm having this one here because I've already installed the fonts, right? Okay. So do how to install the fonts, right? And the other resources, you'll get them from here. So again, the link is in the description of this video. All right. So let's get started with creating that design. So again, let's just look at the design. This is how it looks like, right? simple. Let's bring in these images. We have the tools, we have the PC. Let's bring those things to the screen. So how do you import an image into Photoshop, right? How do we import an image into Photoshop? Very simple. So go to your file explorer here, and this is what we have, right? So if you want to bring in this image here, let's say tools, for example, it's Photoshop, you just drag and drop into Photoshop, and that's that, right? So you just come here, drag and drop. So when you drag and drop an image into Photoshop, you have something like this. You have these handles at the corners here, and notice we have some borders around it. Then if you look up here, we have this cancel icon here, and we have this commit or accept. Okay, so it's basically asking if you want to accept what you're trying to import, or if you want to cancel that. So if I click on cancel, it does not bring it in. Okay, so let's do that again. If I click on accept, it brings it in like that, right? Then we can go back to our move tool here and move these around like that. I'm sure this makes sense to everybody. You can move this around your Canva like this. So let's go and bring in another one. So let's bring in this laptop. So drag and drop like this. Then you can accept as well. Now before we accept, notice we have these handles around it, which basically is used for transformation, to make the picture bigger or to make it small. Okay, bigger or smaller, right? So for now, let's just accept without that. And you can also move it around by clicking on it, and you can drag around like so. Okay, let's bring in another one. So let's bring in these two other ones. So I'll drag this one and drop, accept, drag the other one here, I'll share media icons and drop, and move this down. So even before you accept, you can click on it and move around. Okay, yeah. Now make sure you don't click on the handles at the corners here for now. If you want to move it around, make sure you click on the body of the shape of the image rather, yeah. Then accept like that. Okay, perfect. Now we have to make some things big and some things small, like we have on this original design here. Notice that the tools does not fill up the entire height of the design. So let's come back here and let's click on this, and let's drop the size of this. So how do we drop the size of this tools image here? Simple enough. We need to transform this image here, right? And there are two ways to get that done. The first one is while on the move tool here, right? Make sure you click on this image here, and if you go to your layers, you see you have several layers down here. So you have several layers here, which are basically layers for all of the things you've imported, all of the images you've brought into Photoshop. Like if I click on this image here, this one here, notice that layer is selected. If I click on the laptop, notice the laptop layer is selected here. If I click on this Photoshop icon here, notice the Photoshop icon is selected. If I click on these social media icons here, notice the layer containing this particular image is selected. Okay, so it's important to know that. So your objects here would always create or be on a new layer. Yeah, we are going to see that in detail as we progress. All right, so let's transform, or let's drop the size of this image here, this tools image here. So click on it and make sure you have the move tool selected. Then you would see show transform controls there. Then you see this little box at the left. So click on it, and you now have this transform controls that's popped up at the side. So if you click back on it here, it disappears. Click on it, it appears. So to transform this particular to drop its size, points at the handles, which are the corners of the design, not this one here, right? This one here, point to the ones at the corners. Okay, and you can click and drag like that So you see it's now dropping the size. And you can also use that at the corners like so as well, or the one here like this, and do that from any side. It's going to increase or drop the size. So again, you point there. When the handle changes to this one like this, the two-sided arrowhead, you can click, hold, and drag to increase. Okay, so in my case, when I drag left, it increases. When I drag right, it increases. When I drag left, it drops like that. So I think something like this. Okay, yeah, you can also move it around like this, and this looks great, so accept like that, right? Then you can come back here, click on this to take that away, take those transform controls away. All right, does that make sense? So again, when you have your object selected, you can go to your move tool and click on object transform or show transform controls, and you can transform it based on what you want. Okay, so for those using Photoshop 2018, it's going to be slightly different. If you click on this thing and you want to, when you click on this thing and drag, this was meant to happen. It's going to mess the proportions of this thing. Okay, so one thing you can do is, you should always do that from the side here, then hold shift on your keyboard when you're doing that. Hold shift and you can transform this thing without messing up like this. So if you hold shift, it's now going to work like this. Okay, going to transform it perfectly like that. So for those who are using Photoshop 2020 and above, you have no issue. You don't need to hold shift, just click and drag, and you should be able to transform that appropriately. So accept, and I'll click back on this to take away these transform controls like that. So you can move this guy around like this. So we are going to transform this PC here as well. Okay, so to transform this guy, let's make it big. Click back here and let's make it turn big like that. So we'll always be going back to our reference to see how it looks like. Okay, like this thing. Right, let's go with this for now. I think you should move this one to be this way. Then we have this now. So notice here we have some shapes. So we have the shape under here, this rectangle. Then we have 30, this in Photoshop. Then we have this icon here, right? So let's create that shape. So before I create a shape, let's just adjust this icon. Now, I want you guys to notice something very important. Notice this icon here. When I click and move this icon to the laptop, it's kind of hidden. It's under the laptop. Okay, yeah, this is something very important in Photoshop. So if you look at the layers we have here, under this layers tab here, this layers panel here, you will notice that this our Photoshop icon layer, which is this one here, is below our laptop layer, which is this one here. Do you see? So it's like a stack of plates. When a plate is placed under another plate, the plate above it will definitely cover the one under, right? Yeah, so that's what's happening here. So what we'll do is this, and just turn off this show transform controls here. Turn off that, just so that I don't have these handles that keep popping up. Okay, so whenever I try to move this thing up here, it cannot go because this Photoshop icon layer is below the laptop layer. So what can we do here? We just have to move this Photoshop icon layer above the laptop layer. And how do you get that done? So you just come here, click and hold, then drag up like that to the top. So you see the blue highlight above the laptop layer. So not this one, the one up again. Yes, this one they can drop. So you see we have now moved the Photoshop icon from down here to the top here. So you see it's above the laptop layer. So if I come back to my canvas and drag this around, you now notice it goes above the laptop layer. Okay, so I want to transform this, so I'll go to show transform controls, and I want to make it a little bit big like that. And I think I like this one for now. Yes, then I'll accept. Okay, now turn off the transform controls like that. So the next thing I want to do is I want to create this low shape here, then right there to this on it. So how do you add that shape? simple enough. So we come to our shape tool down here. Is it down here? Shape tool or the rectangle tool, right? And select that. So for some of you, you might not have the rectangle tool. You might have some other tool active there. So what you do is you right click on that and you see other tools here. So the shortcut for getting this tool is you press U on your keyboard. Yeah, this is it. So just press U on your keyboard. So let's say if you're on your move tool and you press U on your keyboard, which I've done that now, notice that it has been selected. Is it here for me? So if you right click on it, on that tool, you would see other tools there. Some of you might have had the ellipse tool selected. So just go back there, right click on it and make sure you have the rectangle tool selected like that. Okay, so how do you draw a shape? Click, hold, and drag. The same way you get it done in Office Word, for example. Click, hold, and drag like that. Okay, so now I've clicked and dragged, and the color I had was white. Now, when you have selected this your rectangle tool, notice the options here appeared. The two options appeared, and there are two things I want you to pay attention to. We had the fill color here, and we have the stroke. So the fill color is the color of the shape itself. Then the stroke is the color of the borders or the outlines of the shape itself. Okay, and when you draw that shape, notice we have a new layer here created for it. So we have a rectangle, one layer here created for that particular layer or that particular shape we have drawn. Okay, so how do we change the color? Now we still have a shape here selected. Okay, our shape is selected here, and notice we have the layer active here as well. So you can come up here to fill like this, and you would see when you click on fill here, so you have this word fill. Click on this box at the right hand side of fill, click on it. You have some colors here, or you would have this you have some folders here where if you click on it, you will see some colors into it in there like so, which you can select. Okay, and when you select any of these colors, it changes the color to whatever color you click on. Okay, so just explore this folder and you see a lot of colors there, right? It changes that for you. So that's how you get to change the color of the shape itself. Then notice we have a stroke, which is kind of like the outline. Click on that, and we really do not need a stroke color. So at the top here, the very top here, notice we have these 4 icons, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's click on this first one, which says no color. Yes, so we don't want a stroke for the shape. We don't want an outline. All we want is a fill color, right? This fill color like that. Okay, so how do we now change this color to this exact color here? Okay, simple enough. We can come here, still on this fill here, we can click on this here, yeah, there. Then you'll see this color thing here at the right hand side. Click on it. You now have your color picker, which you can move around by clicking and dragging in this white section here. Okay, and you can select whatever color you want. All right, so let's say I want the red color. So on this color picker here, we have this slider, the color slider. Then you have now the color you can pick itself. So if I come to this color slider with my mouse, I can click and drag, right? So if I click and drag to red, all we want to see inside here are red colors, variation of red. If I click here on this slider here and drag down to blue, all I can see are variations of blue. If I click and drag down to green, all I can see are variations of green. If I click and drag down to yellow, all I can see are variations of yellow, like that. If I click and drag down to this, all I can see are variations of that particular color. Okay, so let's say I want to click and drag down to cyan, then I'll now select the color itself. So there are two things you need to do. First of all, select the color itself by clicking and dragging on this slider till you find the color you want. That, so I want this color here. Then come into this other interface here and select the particular color by just clicking on the color you want to use, right? So let's say I want to use one. I'll take OK, and I have the color filled up here. I'm sure that makes sense to everybody, right? Okay, now how do you zoom into your work? So you're doing your work and you want to zoom in like this to see the details of your design, okay? So how do you zoom in? So there are several ways you can get that done. You can select the zoom tool, which is down here, this one here. Just click on it and now have some options here, okay? Like you can fit screen like that, you can fill screen, okay, and you can have 100% like that. Or you can use the keyboard shortcut. So when you press Control or Command and 0 on your keyboard, it fits. It's the same as fit screen. Now when you press Control or Command minus, you see you have it's zooming away from your Canva. If you do Control or Command for the Mac users plus, you see you're bringing in Control plus is to zoom in to your work like that. Then let's say we have done something like this and want to quickly fit screen. What you just need to do is press Control or Command and press 0 on your keyboard, right? 0, the number, not letter O, Control and 0, okay, not O, 0. All right, so let's go back to our move tool and we can move this shape around like so. Okay. Now notice this shape is above our laptop layer. So I want to send this shape below our laptop layer. So what do we do again? Come to layers here. You click this and drag and send below like that. See, you see that blue highlight, then you can allow. So if I click and drag, you now notice that it's below. Okay. Yeah. So that's what you want like that. Okay. I think we should change the color of this thing. So one thing again is when you're with the move tool, when you have the move tool selected, and let's say you've selected the shape here, right? You can use your arrow keys on your keyboard, up, down, left, right. So I can use the arrow keys on my keyboard to move this thing around. So I'm just tapping the up button. Okay, you see I'm moving this shape around like that. Okay. Now, let me show you how to sample a color from an image here. So let's say one this let me zoom in. This is our shape here. So for those who are asking now, how am I moving this my Canva around? Notice you have these little scroll bars down here, okay, and this one here as well, like that. That's how you can move this around. And all for those of you who are using the mouse, you can use the scroll wheel on your mouse to scroll up and down. Okay. So I want this color here to be the same color as this one here. This color here, this one. So I'll click on this shape and we now have this rectangle here selected. Okay. Then notice we have this little box in here. So I will double click on that box and I'm going to have my color picker which is going to pop up. Right. So with this color picker, you can select a color from here. And when I select that color, notice it changes here instantly. So I'll select a color from here. But what I want to do is I want to sample a color from here. So when you have the color picker active like this, if you just move out to the color picker, you would have an icon here, which is the eyedropper tool. So when you click on any color, Photoshop is going to use that color instead. You see, so I've clicked on this color. It's now using that color instead. So let me click on this one and notice it has used that color instead. Then I'll tick OK and that. All right. Then I'll go back to my move tool. I'll move this guy a little bit and let me use my arrow keys on the keyboard, up and down keys on the keyboard, right? All right, so I'll zoom out now. I have something like this. The next thing I want to do is I want to add some text to this work. Okay, so we want to write 30 days of Photoshop. Okay, so I'll get my type tool like that. I'll just click somewhere out here. So even before I click, so how do I get my type tool? So we are back on the move tool here, right? So we'll come down to this C we have here. You can right click on it and we'll select the first one, horizontal type tool. Okay, so we have the type tool selected. And notice that we now have some options here for this particular tool here. We have the name of the font, the font style, then the size and so on, right? So the first thing you want to do here is to change the fonts. Okay, so when you click on this drop down here, you're going to have fonts that are on your PC, fonts that are installed on your laptop or on your desktop, whatever you're using. Okay, and you can select that particular fonts. So remember, I gave you guys these particular fonts to install. So I hope you guys have installed it by now. So just select everything, right click and take install, right? Then you can come now here, click on the drop down and just type Clash display. So this is it here. Okay, so I'll select semi-bold like this. Then I'm going to change the color by clicking on this icon here, right? This select text color here. So for now the color is white, so I'll click on this color and I'll change it to black like that. So remember, I've just selected the type, so we have not written any text yet. We're just changing these values here before we write some text. Okay, then I'll bump up these size here. I'll click in here and let's just give it 100. Yeah, so I'll type 100 and I'll press enter on the keyboard. 100 points. Okay, so let's write some text. So I'll come here on this empty space here and I'll just click on my Canva. Just click once and allow. Okay, and when you click on allow, you're either going to have this default Lorem Ipsum text filled up, or you would have something like this cursor blinking where you get to type your text. Okay, so you either have this or you have this, right? It doesn't really matter. So what you need to do is now just write your text. So what's our text again? 30 days of Photoshop. So just type that, 30 days of Photoshop, like that. Okay, so when you're done typing, you can click on accept, then go back to your move tool and you can move this around, right? So that's the job with the move tool, to move things around. Okay, now you guys will notice that the color we used here, we had white, then this color here. Okay, but let's start with white. So let's just change the color of this thing to white. So how do you change the color of this text here again? So you go back, first of all, you're on your move tool, make sure you have the text selected first, click on it and you will start the layer is selected, right? Then go to your type tool down here, then you can change the color from up here. Okay, as we progress in this particular training, I will show you guys how to use the properties panel. So for those of you who are asking that in your head already, why am I using properties? I'll show you guys. Again, we are starting with the very basics so that everybody is caught up, right? So I'll select white here by just clicking and dragging to this right top here, select white. Okay, I'm gonna take okay here. So now it's white, and I think I want to change the size of my text. So let me just type 80 here and see. Okay, I'll type 90 and get my move tool and move it this way like that. I think 90 makes sense. So you can use your up and down keys to move things up and down. So again, always use your move tools to move things around. Okay, right? So the move tool, and now all these pets a bit like this. Yeah, this looks good. So now the question is, how do I make this white and how do I make this color? Simple. So get back to your text tool here. Now when you get to your text tool, right, if you go and click on an empty space, you would create a new text layer. So if I click there and type, it's going to type something new. It's going to create space for me to get to type something new, but that's not what I want, so I'll cancel. I want to edit what I already have typed here. So when you want to create new text, when you point, you would see you have the box and the cursor inside. But if you want to edit text, just point on that text. Notice you have just the cursor without the box. Okay, just the cursor. So click and you're going to be able to edit this text here. So I'm going to highlight what I want to change the color. So I want to change the color of what? Photoshop. So I'm going to highlight this. And how do I highlight that? I'll just come here where you have P, right? I'll click then. So I'll click and now drag the same way you do it in Office Word. So I'll come here before P, I'll click and drag. So some of you might need to zoom in, no issues. So come here, click, now select what, or highlight Photoshop. Okay, and I want to change the color of Photoshop. So I'll highlight Photoshop, then come to color up here, click on that, and my color picker is going to pop up, right? And I want this color to be the same color as this one here. So since I have the color picker popped up like this, I can change from here like this. So let me take this up here. You now see as that's changing, right? But I want this exact color here. So because we are on the color picker, I can just move my mouse outside or my cursor outside and come here, and I have an eyedropper tool. So I'll click on this and now samples the color from here, and we now have that. So I'll click OK. Then I'm going to accept. So we have something looking like this already. I'm sure this makes sense to everybody. Okay, so I'll come to this guy here again, this more thing here, and I'll transform this into a bit. I'll accept, then I'll turn off this thing here like this. All right, next thing, let's see what's the next thing. Okay, the next thing is to add this register now, right? So we have the shape, then we have register now. Okay, so how do you create that shape? So let me move this guy a little bit this way. So again, creating the shape, go to your shape tools here, click on the rectangle tool, you draw the shape like that. So you draw a rectangle. Okay, now we have drawn a rectangle. The question now is, how do you make the corners rounded? Very simple. So go to Windows and look for properties. This here, properties. So I'll click on properties, right? Windows, then click on properties. So you should have it open up like this. So if it was closed, for example, go to Windows and go to properties, it's meant to open up like that. Okay, so when you have drawn your shape, make sure you have that particular layer selected. In case you don't have that shape selected anymore, just go to your move tool, click on the shape you have just drawn. Okay, when you click on it, you have the layer selected here, and your properties panel will look like this. In case you don't have properties panel, just go to Windows and go to properties. So now I have it, it's active, so there's it here. Okay, then let's see, you see this particular section here. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and beside you have this chain icon here. So you can just come and input your values here, right? So for me, I've inputted 70. So if I input 100, for example, okay, it comes back to 73.5. So that's the maximum I can input, and when you do that, it rounds the corners for you like that. Or the second thing you can do is this. You can point here, just point, and you see you have a 2-headed arrow at either of these sides. So there are 4 sides. Pointed on any side, and you see that you have the 2-headed arrow. If you point there, click, hold, drag to the left. Just look at the shape. What's happened to the shape? It has taken away the roundness. Okay, so now the roundness at what, 0 pixels. So if I click back there and drag, it's increasing the value. It's at 11 now. Click and drag, it's at 48 now. So I'll click here and drag right up to the end. So the maximum value I can get is 73.5. Okay, roundness. So you can move this around. And how do you change the color of this shape here again? Simple enough. Just come and point at this little square here. Double click, and you have a color picker which comes up again. And the color I want is this color here. So I'll just come and click on it, and it changes the color to that, right? Next thing I want to create this text here, register now. So I'll get my type tool by clicking on the type here, and I'll just click and I'll type register. Now I want my register. Can you just type register now first? Register now, like that. Then I'll accept. Get my move tool. I'll drag this straight down. So notice that it's black. I want it to be white. Make sure you have the, so we have moved this down here, right? And you can change this in the properties panel. So I'm sure you guys must have noticed that the properties panel has totally changed now. So when I had a shape selected, this is what we had here. Okay, this is what we had when you had a shape selected. This is what we had. But now we have type selected here, this type here, this text selected. That's changed here. We have a shape selected, different. We have text selected, different. So you can change the color of this text here by clicking on this color thing here. Okay, in case you have this closed up like that, you can always click on this drop down to open them up like this. Click on this and change the color to white like that. Then you can also change the size as well here. So I'll change the size something like 45 and see. Yeah, that's too small. So I'll give you a value of 50, 75, 60 should make sense. Okay, yeah, 60 looks good already. right? So let's try 65 and see. All right, then you can change the width to regular by clicking on this second drop down here. Change the width, that's the thickness of the letters, okay? And we have something like this already, right? Okay, then all of these other things are things I want you guys to do, okay? Get this done, figure out how to get these things done, right? So how do you get this link here? Simple enough, just get your type tool, click and write that same thing as all of these ones here, okay? So I want you guys to get all of this text done and submit your assignment for today is to complete this design and you'd have to submit, okay? And I'll tell you guys how to submit on our group chat. Yeah. So the last one, we have these icons here. So icons here. So they are too big now, right? How do you drop the size? Simple. Get your move tool, turn on that, and you can drop the size like this. Right. You accept. And can move that around. Okay. So again, your assignment is to complete the design. You have everything needed. So I think what you guys have left to do is just add this other text here. Okay. Yeah, that's the only thing you have left to do. All right. So after we have done all of this, how do we save the documents? Remember, I've never saved that document. So to save your document, just hold Ctrl and press S on your keyboard, or go to File, then go to Save. Here, go to Save. So you have something like this. Then go to select on your computer. All right, then have something like this, and click on save on your computer. Yeah, and you have this Explorer which pops up. Okay, so go to your PC and select where you want these stuff to be saved up. So for me, I want it to be saved here. Okay, I'll click on save. So after you have selected a location, just click on save like that. Then you see this pop up, click on OK. So if you go back to your the location where you saved that, you have something looking like, so this is it. I've saved here day one. So it's saved with a .psd extension. That's a Photoshop extension, right? .psd extension like that. Okay, so we have designed this and saved this up. So we can now close this document here. So I can close up like this. And let's say I've closed that up and I want to edit the design again. So how do you open up a design? Simple enough. Just go to where you have that design saved, right? And double click on it. And you have something like this. Just click down there and select Photoshop. Okay. Okay, now Windows it's not showing me what I need. So no issues. You can open this up in Photoshop, right? Just come to Photoshop, go to File, go to Open. Is it here? Open here, right? Open, and go to the location, and you just double click on it, and you have this opened up now. And you can still edit. Okay, you can edit to get whatever you want to get, right? And when you're done, you can just save as well. Now I want to show you how to export your document. So let's look at this as a Word document, right? This is a Word document, and when you're done typing in Word, you would want to export to, let's say, a PDF, right? So now, how do we export our designs in Photoshop? So I want to export design as a picture so that I can share on social media, okay? Because I've already shown you guys that whenever you create a Photoshop document, this is how it looks like. It's a Photoshop file, but we want to export to a picture that can be shared online. So how do you export that? Very simple. Click on File, then come down here into Export, okay? Then you'd see Export As. Click on it. Then you have this interface that looks kind of like this. So you can change the format to whatever I want. So I want JPEG, right? That's the format I want, okay? And I think I'm going to allow everything as it is, and I'll click on Export. Then I'm going to select the location as well. So I'll select this one here and I'll save. So the export is done. So if I come back here to the location, so this is it now. You see, it has exported this as a picture, which I can open up like this. All right. Beautiful. So your assignment is to complete this design, and I'll provide the link on how to submit the assignment. So if you guys have any questions, drop your questions down in the comment section of this video, and I'll get all of those questions answered. Okay. Do not forget to like this video. Do not forget to subscribe. Kindly subscribe to the channel as more content keeps on coming up, right? If you have questions, ask your questions in the comment section. Okay. And that's it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.